This is the Power Platform Daily Brief from CRM Audio for Friday, July 26, 2019. What you need to know about the Power Platform today in 10 minutes or less. I'm Brad Kuntz. Today we're going to listen to the second part of our interview with Jon Levesque. Jon is a Senior Program Manager and Chief Evangelist for Flow at Microsoft. Last week we talked a little bit about the changes in feature functionality. It was a fantastic interview. If you haven't listened to that, it's out there. Today we're going to play the second part of that interview where Jon talks about evangelism, community, and engagement for Microsoft Flow and the Microsoft Flow community.
Or maybe even in your eyes, the thrust of what you do as an evangelist is really around creating communities, right? And creating community. And I will tell you, from someone who's been in this channel for over a decade now, I have never seen the energy around the community of these platforms that we're talking about. And I know you and I spoke earlier. I think back to a CRM and AX UG that I went to 7 years ago, and there were maybe a couple of hundred people there, and the mood was not so bright. And then you contrast that to the Business Application Summit in Atlanta last month. I mean, what a difference! I mean, the energy is it's really off the charts. And I know that a lot of it has to do with, we need to be able to have platforms that are worth creating communities about. I know that Guy Kawasaki always said that when he was at Apple, kind of the early days of software evangelism. But in your mind, why now? What's changed now that we have these really super active communities in the Power Platform and Flow? What's changed?
So I think that, well, first off, I just want to say thank you, because I feel very responsible for a lot of that. Like, I feel like I've been here from the start. A lot of people don't know, I actually planted the Power Apps community when it was just Power Apps, and I was there for like a year and a half. I left for a short time, and then Flow kind of spun out, and they asked me to come back and do it again. And so then I've come back now, been here for like 2.5 years. And so I really think that there's a few things, right, that are different about and lend to the fact of why people are so passionate here. And so the first one is, I think that we try very hard to share our platform. For us, it is not just about us talking to them, it is us talking with them. And so what you'll notice is on the Flow blog, right, if you want to write a Flow of the week, we'll oftentimes just let you. If there's not one scheduled, like you're a community person, you have something to say, awesome.
Right.
Let's let you stand on our platform and speak to our 100,000 monthly readers, right? And same thing in the community. It's not just a place to get help, right, to fix the problem, but there are places where you can interact, right? There's webinar galleries, and there are cookbooks and things where you can share your Flow recipes. There's announcement sections and chat sections, and so these things kind of also lend to that, where we're not here just to solve a problem. We're here to actually be a community. And then I think the other piece also, which is counter to how Microsoft has done it, is we don't think of community in the binary sense of like, oh, we made a forum, and so this is the community. We go and we meet people where they are. So you will see on Flow, we have a massive Twitter presence, and we spend a lot of time and energy there because that's where communication and conversation is happening. So we want to be part of that. And it gives us the opportunity then, when people see us coming to where they are, we then can advertise, hey, we have this place where you can come and be a part of this thing that's already happening. And so as we go to where they are and we offer them this, like, we have support structures and galleries and ways for you to learn and contribute. I think that, this system makes it so that this community is starting to take over itself. My goal in these communities has never been to remain community manager. It's always been for them to be the community manager. It is for you, by you, and we are just here to support that. And so I think just us coming from that perspective is one of the big differences. It's not about us trying to get the most that we can out of them, right? Where a lot of community, I feel like that's the idea. It's about us giving as much as we can to them.
Right. No, that's fantastic, and that's the only way that it can scale, and that's the only way that it can multiply. So that's I love that approach.
Yeah, and I just love I there's so much phenomena, like mini phenomena that happens in this community, right? These groups that start to rise up, and lately we've been seeing this Power Addicts movement, right? From the Business Application Summit, and this thing, and I think this just speaks to the power where now this community is starting to rise up and be its own leader, right? We're no longer leading it. They're going their own way, and we're just like, hey, cool, let's go with them. And you're seeing the start of that here. And I think it's really over the next couple years, as this platform grows, as the technology grows, I think that these movements, you're going to see many more of them rise up and become bigger things. And that's just super exciting to me as the person who has been here to plant this and do this work, to see the trees that you've planted grow. There's nothing like it.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So you're creating a community. What are your success metrics? What do you look at?
Yeah. So like the way that I'm measured for my job or personally, how do I measure the success of a community?
I would say maybe the second one, right? I mean, all I know is anecdotally, there's just energy. I see it when I look at Twitter, and then I also see it when I go to conferences like the Business Application Summit, right?
Yes.
I know there's energy, and I can't really put a number to it. But how do you measure it?
So I think the way I've been looking at it. So, and it's weird for me because it's part of my job, but it's also like my life, right? It's this weird thing in my position. I kind of have lost track of where the job ends and the life begins. And so I would say I tend to look at it at one, how many people are we attracting to this community, right? Like, are we growing consistently? Right. And I don't put a measure of, it has to be 20% or 50% or so many members. Are we growing continuously? Are we attracting new people? I think is one. But second to that though, and very close is how happy are those users? Like if we have a whole lot of users and none of them are happy, that's not good for anybody. Right. And so we have to attract people, but then we also have to make sure that we're giving them what they need. And so I think when I look at it, I think excitement is definitely a measure. Growth is definitely a measure, but also going through the comments in the back end and making sure that people are getting the things that they're searching for, that they're finding what they need, I think is also the measure of success for me. The goal here is to bring everybody along. Our leadership has said 10 million developers, new developers, citizen developers is what we want. And so to get there, you got to bring everybody along. Right. And so I would say for me, that's a big part of it.
Is there did I read there's a Flow virtual event coming up?
Yes. So the call for speakers is open until July 20th, and the actual event itself will be September 10th. Registration should come out very soon to register to attend. But yes, September 10th, an all-day event. We did one last year, and so if you go to YouTube and you search Microsoft Flow Online Conference 2018, that's all free and available to you on demand. You can watch that at your own pace whenever you want and get an idea for how this year's conference will be. But it is a load of fun. It is, since there's no travel costs, we get the world's best speakers on Flow to come here and speak. And I took a lot of time last year, and I went out and I actually did personal introductions for each video and stitched it all together into like one whole cohesive experience. And so we're going to try and do that same thing for this year and make it a show. And so it's a lot different than most other online conferences where you're just going to get dropped from video to video. This one has some context between, some personality and some energy between, some built-in breaks and questions and things. And it's going to be pretty fun and unique. And it's definitely something that you won't want to miss.
Okay, that's awesome. And I'll put a link to that as well as links to your YouTube channel and in other ways to get in touch with you in the show notes so that folks have them.
Awesome.
So you're obviously passionate about flow. Give me 3 other things that you're equally passionate about.
Yeah, I love nature. And so hiking is a big thing, and photography is a big thing. Anything to be outside. I have this saying that it's not good enough for me to see the picture. I got to see it with my own eyes. I like to be the one that takes the picture for other people to take it. So yeah, drones, nature, hiking. I love and beer and wings.
Beer and wings. I love it.
Beer and wings. Yep.
I love it. I love that. I think I would list 2 of the 4 things that you mentioned there on my list as well. So probably the beer and the wings. So that's awesome. Well, Jon, thank you so much for joining us on the Friday Power Conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
That's all for today's Power Platform Daily Brief. Power on.